Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. And now, since the Somalis are in the spotlight, we continue to talk about them because they are trending. And today I want to talk about why Somalis should consider moving to some countries that I'm going to talk about today. Today we're talking about something practical, something global, and something that a lot of people in the Somali diaspora quietly think about but rarely say out loud. Which countries actually offer the best long-term fit for Somali migrants? Not from a place of hostility, but from a place of strategy. Where can Somali families thrive, build stability, and live in alignment with their cultural values? That's the important thing. Migration really should be about fit, not just somewhere that you can go and live, but where you're going to be able to fit and live your life with dignity in the culture that you value. Now, we know that Somalis are having a moment in the United States of America right now. So the question is, where do Somali migrants actually find the best opportunities and the least amount of friction? Country number one is Turkey. Turkey would be a good fit for Somalis because there is a large population of Somalis already living in Turkey. Also, Turkey has a majority Muslim culture, and the majority of Somalis living in the United States are Muslims. They follow Islam. Turkish food is familiar to Somalis, the language rhythms, and the social norms. And Turkey has a surprisingly business friendly environment. And Somalis are good businessmen, the ones that work. Black Americans even talk about how easy it is to do business in Turkey. So, for people who want cultural continuity like Somalis and a sense of belonging, Turkey checks a lot of the boxes. So, they might consider migrating to Turkey. Country number two, UAE, the United Arab Emirates, which includes Dubai and Abu Dhabi. This is attractive for Somali people because of economic mobility. There are high paying jobs and logistics jobs in the UAE. It also has a large East African diaspora and a lifestyle that aligns with Islamic values. There are Somalis who claim they're Arabs. The Emiratis are Arabs, and they have a fast growing business sector. So the UAE offers upward mobility without the cultural dissonance that Somalis might feel in Western countries. So it really seems like an ideal situation for Somalis. Country number three is Qatar or Qatar. I'm not sure what the correct pronunciation is. This country is small, but it's a powerful country and very rich. The wages are high, they have a safe, orderly society, and it strongly aligns with Islamic culture. And the people of Qatar are also Arabs. They have made major investments in their infrastructure and education. So, for people who want economic opportunity without cultural compromise, Qatar is a strong contender. Country number four is Oman. It is also a majority Muslim country. They're conservative but not extreme. The Somalis that live in Oman say they don't feel targeted or scrutinized. Jobs are available in service, construction, driving, and some skill sectors. The cost of living is lower in Oman than it is in Qatar or in the UAE. English is widely used in Oman, which makes it easier for newcomers to navigate. They have good schools, quiet neighborhoods, and a slower pace that suits families and long term workers. So there is a growing Somali community in Oman, but not overcrowded. So it's easier to avoid internal community drama. So this sounds like almost an ideal place for Somalis to relocate. Now I'm going to explain why I made this video. It's not about telling anybody where to go. Clearly, I can't tell Somalis where to go. I'm making a suggestion. It's about understanding that migration is strategic. Every group has to ask, where do we fit? Where can we build? Where do our values align with the society around us? For many Somalis, the countries that I listed offer a smoother path, more cultural and religious alignment, and fewer social tensions than places where assimilation is harder. A few months ago, I made a video that said, America is not for everybody. And the United States isn't always the best fit for Somali immigrants. And it's not about blaming the Somalis or blaming America. It's about fit, expectations, and structural realities. The United States has a very individualistic culture. Somali culture is deeply communal, extended family, collective responsibility, shared resources. The United States is the opposite. We value individualism, self sufficiency, and limited social safety nets. That mismatch creates friction, especially for new arrivals. Another important thing to look at is that the United States refugee system is overwhelmed. America's resettlement infrastructure has been stretched for years. That means people who come here will get less support, fewer community resources, and more pressure on existing Somali neighborhoods. And that's not being hostile, it's just talking about capacity. Somalis often arrive in the United States with strong cultural and religious identities. The United States is diverse, but it's also polarized. So misunderstandings can turn into stereotyping, media narratives, and local political backlash. And I'm not saying that Somalis are the problem. We're saying that the environment is complicated. And then there's economic mobility, which is inconsistent. Some Somalis thrive in the United States, but many face underemployment, language barriers, high cost of living, and limited upward mobility in certain cities. Other countries simply offer cleaner, faster pathways. And there is something that needs to be discussed in this topic, and that is the identity clash that creates tension between Somalis and other African descended people. The United States has a large Black American population with a very specific historical experience, which is slavery, segregation, civil rights, and a long fight for dignity. When a migrant group arrives and publicly distances itself from Blackness or repeats stereotypes about Black American people, it hits a nerve. It feels like disrespect. It feels like erasure. And it feels like a refusal to understand the culture of the country that you're living in. I'm not saying that Somalis can't thrive in America, many do, but it does mean that identity clashes and public comments have consequences. And I am going to add this, and I'm going to do it very carefully because I don't want to come across as being resentful. But I need to say it. Every group that migrates has to understand the world they're entering. You don't own the space. You don't set the rules. You don't get to insult the people who built the society you're living in and expect no pushback. That applies to any group, not just Somalis. This is why I say some countries are simply a better fit for Somali migrants. Places where the cultural expectations align, places where the identity differences don't create daily friction, places where the social environment doesn't require navigating America's racial history. And that is why I emphasized Arab countries. They say they're Arabs. Most Arabs are Muslims. Somalis are Muslims. They align with the Arab people in their religion and in their cultural practices. Those countries are better fit for Somalis. So at the end of the day, every family has to choose what works for them. But if we're talking about long-term stability, cultural alignment, and opportunity, the countries that I listed really rise to the top of the list for Somali migrants. And I think it's a fair list. But anyway, y'all, let me know what you think about this. Thanks for listening and have a great day.